This is Mile High.
Do I want to tell the story or do I want to show the message?
You've got a lot of work to do between Mile High.
The time has come where we can know
we have a responsibility, an ethical and moral responsibility.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
it's now time for the show.
Daniel Knowles here. You're on the Mile High Podcast. Thank you for listening, watching, wherever you are, whatever altitude you are, and make sure if it's Spotify or iTunes or YouTube, you hit the subscribe button because you never want to miss any Mile High tick. And you want to rise up to Mile High altitude August 20th weekend for Mile High 14. You know you want to be there. Get the details at riseuptomilehigh.com. Now, the news also is, as you're listening to this, today's guest will be at Mile High also. And so I'm super thrilled that Haig John will be joining us. He's a Life 2004 graduate. He's doing stellar things in Florida, Melbourne, Florida, INNATE workshops. He's got one coming up in April. So you want to be where he is, which means you want to follow him, find out where he is and be there. And of course, be there to see him at Mile High 14. Now, hey, so glad to have you here. Tell us, let's let people get to know you a little bit first before we talk tick, right? So, you have the Synapse podcast and lots of other things. You're busy changing lives. How did you end up in this chiropractic world?
Well, chiropractic saved my life. I mean, that's a common story within chiropractic. And I was at University of San Diego. I got in a bad accident, and my grades start really dropping out. I was sleeping in a recliner at 21 years old, and I felt like I was dying. I felt horrendous. And I've always wanted to go to a chiropractor. And when I was a kid, a buddy of mine, he was so excited he came home, we were skateboarding. He was like, I just got back from the chiropractor, and he loved his chiropractor and was so excited about it. And I thought, man, I want some of that. And I remember that still to this day. And as a matter of fact, the chiropractor that he saw practices across the street from me now. His name is Dr. Sal Martingano. And I've told him this story so many times. Uh-huh. And it literally, so I went to, it was an accident. I had my buddy's dad was a lawyer. I had no money as a college student. And he said, go to my chiropractors. And it was, I never met the chiropractor. They squirted some jelly on my back and do whatever they do. And I said, this is not what my buddy was talking about. And so I went down the street. This was on Garnett Street in Pacific Beach in San Diego. And it was Dr. David Libbs, Stephanie Libbs' father-in-law. And I didn't know that then, and I walked in and I said, my life sucks. Everything's falling apart. I need a chiropractor. And he said, you've got a subluxation. And my atlas, now I know what he was talking about. Felt like it was sticking out of my neck. And he saved my life. My grades started getting better. I could read. I was reading the papers I was studying, nothing would even stick in my brain. I was having reflex like lava coming up my throat at 21 years old. And so he literally saved my life. I went on to law school, left law school, and I said, chiropractic is really where I'm meant to be. And that's where I ended up at Life University.
Isn't that an amazing, amazing gift when in life you just realize you're where you meant to be?
It's the blessing to be able to see it, right? We're given those messages. Spirit gives us those messages, but we have to have the eyes to see, the ears to listen, the touch to feel to make those decisions. So I had to go through some rocky roads. I had ups and downs. Thank you, Lord, that it happened, because I wouldn't have been in the position that I'm in now. I was going to say situation because that almost sounds negative, but it's positive because it's the position we are in now to serve people, to help transform their lives by sharing the amazing gifts that we've been given. And one of my mentors, Dr. Pasquale Sarasoli, he used to say, look at the amazingness of chiropractic. Focus on how amazing it is. That's what you need to give them, that amazingness. So I feel honored. I had a chiropractic delivery right before this. My buddy came in to get adjusted. I adjusted him. He adjusted me. So I'm literally on fire right now, well adjusted and excited to be with you, Danny. Thank you.
Well, I'm excited to have you here, and I don't want to go, too much down this road. However, you and I are well aware that as the decades have gone by, sadly, it's not just now, not like in the 2020s, but it was true in the, it was true in the 90s, it was true in the 80s, it was true in the 70s, that there's less and less chiropractic in chiropractic school. And people are getting, unfortunately, less exposure in the educational process. And I don't want to go too down that direction, but it's not a secret, right? It's reality, right? That's not a secret. Who were some people that you were gifted with to help you really latch on to what chiropractic is, despite maybe the educational concerns?
Well, when I decided to be a chiropractor, we had, the card catalog in the library. And I went to go look up chiropractic. Like, let me look this up. And there was literally nothing. Okay.
Right.
And it was just sort of a leap of faith, really, that I just have meant to be there. I couldn't find any direction. I didn't know any chiropractors to talk to. And I went to Life University. And the very first teacher I met was Dr. Boylston. Most of us had him back in those days, and he said, if you know it, you can teach it, and that's something I have taken through in studying and chiropractic and everything we have. And then we had such amazing upper cervical, full spine, Grostic, great teachers in the school that I had Dr. Keith Bailey. He used to drive down, retired chiropractor. He used to drive from Nashville just to teach us toggle in the school. And he would stay for Tuesday through Thursday and then go back home to spend the time with his wife. And just a gift of these masters coming down. And, we had a couple of quarters of toggle. We had a couple of quarters of Grostic. I was the very first class that ever had a network when at Life University, right after the accreditation thing happened. Right. And so I'm looking at my certificate on the wall up there. It was the very first quarter with that. But we had some amazing teachers. Dr. John Downs was he was the dean at the time, and we became friends, and I learned so much from him about extremities and chiropractic. And then Dr. Clarence Jensen, who was at Clearview with BJ Palmer, and Dr. Nell was in that same class. It only took the top 30 students at Clearview at the time. He became my toggle mentor after that. And Pasquale Sarasoli, James Sigafus, and of course Dr. Sid Williams. And then a lot of the great teachers we had in school, Jerry Hockman, Jim Oppenheimer, a lot of great people that we had. I feel blessed to have been in the school at the time that I was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's amazing. And you mentioned Pasquale. How did you hook up with connecting with him? Because Georgia is a far way from New York.
Yeah, it is. And, that is Dr. Wade Port. Port, what he did was invite Pasquale to come and speak with the students and spend the weekend with us. Mm-hmm. And we picked him up from the airport together. We have a great video of that. Yep. And Wade, his car was stolen a few months before. He got a call and he left, and it was me and Pasquale sitting for about 5 hours together. Mm. We're probably 6/4, maybe somewhere around there. The gift of that early on, I don't even know how to measure that. And I told him, and we had just finished a yogi intensive, Wade and I, and I talked, and Pasquale, I told him this. I said, "You've saved my chiropractic life." Because I was looking for answers. I knew if I was spiritually driven to this, there has to be a spiritual foundation to it. It's not musculoskeletal. Which it can help people, right? But
Right.
ultimately, there's something deeper in this. And the first book I got was Answers, and
Ah,
and that I was like, I'm looking for answers. I've got to find what's this all about. And there's a lot of good epigrams. It's a good book, but I didn't find the answers I was looking for. And when I got to sit with him knee to knee for hours, and it saved my chiropractic life. I said it changed it for sure. So that's really where that foundation came from. And then the richness of the philosophy. He was a Dee Dee man and really getting me involved with Dee Dee Palmer and
right.
understanding the best that we can of our father in chiropractic, of what he has given to us not for us, but for the denizens of the earth. Serving God's people, chiropractic people deserve chiropractic.
Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head, and that's something I think we're going to talk a little bit more in depth on. And Pasquale Sarasoli, he was one of my dad's, my stepdad's
Yep.
mentors. Donnie
Yes.
talks about Pasquale Sarasoli frequently, and
Mm-hmm.
going to the Cell F centers. And he said, in one of his conversations, he said to Donnie, in his accent, Donald, he called him Donald, you're in a technique prison, right? He
Yeah.
told him, you're in a technique prison because he was an upper cervical, and was, practitioner, knee chest practitioner at the time, and that was his focus. And, he's talked to him about being focused on the person. So now that last thing you just said, right? If you look at the chiropractic profession, a lot of chiropractors tend to, I'm not saying everyone, but many tend to focus on themselves. They focus on what they have to gain, the sales they need to make, the income, and those things are important. You want to live. I think chiropractors need to live a life worthy of the calling that they have. They need to be abundant. I want them to, I want all those great things, right? I'm not saying I'm anti those things. I'm certainly not.
Understood.
I'm
Understood.
blessed with what chiropractic gives me,
Yeah.
so and all of that. And I think one of the bigger problems is that chiropractors focus on what they're going to get rather than what they're going to give.
Oh, yeah.
You
You
know?
know, yeah. And I've been to millions of seminars, seems like, over the past 20 plus years. And, I've had chiropractors, the gurus of whatever they were teaching, they were counting adjustments. Well, if I'm going to buy that car, it's going to cost me this number of adjustments. And I realized I've got to wipe that type of mentality out of my
Right,
mind. That doesn't
right,
feel right. Right.
right, exactly.
And Sigafus, I didn't know Jim Parker, but Sigafus used to talk about him quite often. He was my mentor, James Sigafus, God bless him. And he talked about Jim Parker. And he said, the side effect of service is wealth.
Right,
And whatever you determine that wealth is right for you, okay? It's up to you. It's an inside job. But the side effect of service and serving the people,
right,
that's where it all comes from. And that's
right.
why, I have people, I have my first patient, 001, still comes in. She moved away, and when she's in town, she always comes in for an adjustment. I had a guy the other day, he came in the first week. He's like, I came in when there were swatches of paint. We were trying to figure out the color on the wall in my office when I very first opened. And I feel honored by that. But I realized that's the teachings we were given and how I took that in to serve the people. And that's what it's all based
Right,
on. And
right,
I
right.
think that's where the success is in any profession and whatever you're doing.
And that's a phrase that I say very often, and when I'm you know doing my best to help other doctors, I
Mm-hmm.
hope I can help them to the degree of some of those people that impacted me. I don't know that I do, but I do my best. And one of the things I say is to give more and serve more, and then the give more, serve more, receive more. The receive more will happen if you give more and serve more. But when you put the receive more first, it doesn't work as well. You
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of the end of that is that who really loses is not the chiropractor, it's not the chiropractic profession, it's humanity, because they don't gain what they could.
Well, I think one of the most difficult things, and we've talked about this with college presidents, professors, a million, technique teachers. How do you teach service? How do you teach serving? It has to come from us. And I ran right before we started, ran and got a couple of books. This is Dee Dee's 1914 book. And the first chapter is the moral and religious duty of the chiropractor. And I really feel that was Dee Dee trying to give us this is your duty. If it's not your religious duty to serve the people, make it your moral duty that you've got to take care of the human beings on this planet. They deserve it. And you can feel the emotion coming out of that. The same thing with the 1910 book and BJ's writings. That emotion coming out of, give this to the people. I've done everything I can. Here's the baton. Take it, run, go for it. And, you can feel that coming out of the books. Now that I've read it so many times, we've done it on our podcast twice. And on our Synapse Philosophy podcast is where we read the green books. We read a passage, and then we discuss it and break it down. That's what the old guys used to say. We break it down. And, now we've done quite a few. And even if you take out all our talking and our discussion, those books are now, on YouTube. They're around the world. They're on Spotify, Apple. And, we have those green books. And I'm working with a program to take chiropractic out into outer space, zero gravity adjusting, which is really cool. But, if we're going to do that, we could upload the green books and these discussions into the cosmos is the way I look at it, because it doesn't end with us. This is going to live far beyond. I mean, this book is written in 1914. It inspires me continually. And then I have a few others. This is what we're going to read next.
Great.
I think, because we're about to finish the 1910 book, almost 1,000 pages. And we're going to move maybe to revolution or evolution. We just did our masterpiece, but we might do fame and fortune again. This is one of the first ones we did. I'd like to do it again after. I call us the longest running chiropractic podcast or Green Book podcast. We've been going since about 2018. We did a lot with the Mexican students down there, and we were translating into Spanish and Portuguese. And so that was a lot of fun. But we've been running continuously since then.
Wow, that's amazing.
Small tangent,
where do people
you can join us every Tuesday? We do it live. So
where do people? Oh, I was gonna say, where do people get connected with that podcast?
Well, I posted around. I put it on Mile High when we're doing it live to join us on Zoom, and then everybody has a chance to ask a question, and we get a lot of great questions. We have a lot of students are now practicing chiropractors in Mexico and Brazil, and a lot of the European people, chiropractors, their time is different, so they send messages, and then we discuss them later on. But it's our Zoom link we do every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Now, tell me, you started INNATE workshops.
Yeah,
which I love the title. So tell me about INNATE workshops.
Well, I taught with Arnaud Bernier for a number of years. Ever since my 10th quarter. And, it is in me to teach. And that's where I relate back to that very first quarter when that professor said, if you know something, you can teach it. And we've developed some, amazing approaches that are gentle and very effective, and for adults as well. And just lately, it's been very heavy on my heart of newborn trauma. And I do a lot of cranial work. I've been doing that since the beginning. My foundation is in upper cervical, but it's the human adjusting, I call it, not just diversified or something like that, but it's human adjusting. And so we've been teaching the INNATE newborn for the past 4 or 5 years. And this next one that's coming up April 25th at Life University, or 24th is the philosophy night, 25th and 6th are the seminar. And we are going to include the adult adjusting as well, child and adult and newborn. So it's derived out of the need because, you and I, we love to get adjusted, and I love to get adjusted well. So, we uplift our profession, and being the ambassadors for this profession, we want to lift up whether they're new in practice or 30 or 40 years in practice. We've had many people years and years of practice, but have been maybe in, more of a personal injury thing or doing things in a different way, and they want to advance their care. I have a lot of people say they have a grandbaby and they don't know really how to handle it. They're just guessing. And so they want to care for them well. Or like me, I mean, I've been to the hospital so many times that, of course, we're supposed to be sneaking in there sometimes. But the valet knew me better than the other doctors. And they said, yeah, I just tossed them the keys, and they told me, you come and see your patients a lot more than any other doctor here, which saddens me tremendously. But out of that need to save lives, if we can lower the rate of SIDS, if we lower the rate of cerebral palsy, we're changing the world. And, that's where it really comes to. And the technique that I've developed of innate adjusting, really, I've seen tremendous help with, I say children, some of them are adults now, that with cerebral palsy. And I developed that for for space travel. I said zero gravity care. I'm right near the Space Coast here. And, our astronauts need care too. And so it derived out of that for zero gravity care. If you did a toggle on an Atlas in zero gravity, it might end up at Mars before you do. So really an approach that can lead to better health and I'm telling you, they are training teenagers for long-term space travel to Mars. And we already have space stations. I think we do, besides the ISS, of people living and they're launching spacecraft from there is what they're saying very soon. So chiropractic being in the cutting edge for the future, but I've developed that very gentle care for the newborns at the same time. We were developing both. So that's really where it started from, was at zero gravity care, and then bringing it to the newborns and children, and we can also care for them with adults as well. It's very, very effective.
I got to ask you about this as I was listening, because with the innate workshops, and I think people need to learn about newborn trauma care. There's more of it than people realize. You and I know that more of it than people realize. Here's the thing I want to ask. It might be ruffling some feathers, but that's all right. You've been teaching people for a number of years, and I've been teaching people for a number of years as well. Okay, so and what I'm wondering is, I've noticed this, that as the years have gone by, I've taught people at different points. Have you noticed that people know less and less chiropractic?
I can't, the sadness of hearing it in my ears, and that you actually have to say it. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And, it's very difficult. Like it's where it's not the main thing. Like for me and I had Wade Port, a waist butt, Chris Walker, some really, these juggernauts in chiropractic. We all graduated together, but we all trained together. Mm-hmm. We spent our weekends not drinking all weekend. We spent our weekends training chiropractic. We wanted to improve. We wanted to be the best we can be because we're training to be professionals.
Right.
And, my son's 9 years old. And I said, if you want to be a professional athlete, you want to go in the NFL, you got to train like a professional. Right.
I know. Cause go ahead. I'm sorry.
You say, go.
I know. I'm like teaching them to palpate, and the gap is so big. I'm not even talking understanding philosophy, but like the understanding of finding things palpation wise is so far,
That's a lot of what I base what we do is on palpation. We're seeing with our fingertips, right?
Right.
And getting to know the nuances of that spine. I want to feel the vibration of that connection. of this side to that side. This have a lower tone or a higher tone. I want to be part of that. Dr. Gonstead said, we have to become one with the bone. And, I've taken that to heart, connecting to the system. I have had students, and I hate to say it, that couldn't find a vertebra.
Right. Oh no, that's what I'm saying. More so than 15 years ago, more so than 20 years ago.
Way more.
And it's disheartening. And again, the loss is humanity. It's not chiropractic. It's humanity that loses. And I also have to ask this. People have told me that you have kind of a cool car. That's what I've heard. And not a cool car in it's a Lambo or something, but which you see some of those kind of fancy cars in some areas of Florida, right? So, but I understand you have so I understand you have a cool car is what I've heard. I'm just wondering if you drive that cool car up to the hospitals.
Well, the spine truck.
That's what I mean.
It's got an 8-foot giant spine.
That's what I meant. The spine. It's a truck. I said car. Okay, truck.
Yeah, it's a full size Tundra, and with a giant 8-foot spine in the back. We just had the bed repainted and took the graphics off. We got to redo the graphics, and a local artist sculpted it, and it's a one of a kind, and it's so much fun. I mean, we go in parades. We ever do a screening or wherever, we park it front and center. It's a lot of fun. And, I always say, you got to have fun in practice too. We enjoy it. And, people say, oh, you're the spine truck guy. Oh, we love that. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, we enjoy it.
Okay. I love that. I love that. That's awesome. The crazy ones. The chiropractors have to be the crazy ones. We have to rock the boat a little bit. If we don't rock the boat a little bit, it's not going to be good where the boat's headed to. So no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, even the name INNATE, and I did that on purpose. Partly for 100% for spiritual reasons, right? But also because it has political reasons in chiropractic.
Right.
A lot of groups are very anti that. And so, of course, it's a foundation of what we do. And Dee and BJ Palmer, they said, people aren't quite ready to hear spirit yet. We're going to use the word innate. Innate means it's literally a spirit within us. So there's power behind that. And, a very, very important stuff. That's one of the small reasons, right? Ultimately, that's what we're honoring, and we're connecting innate to innate. And there's been so many debates of chiropractors finding different subluxations than another one. But it's ultimately what your spirit, how it trusts me as the server, and when it's going to give me, you can help me here. It's not that what I can necessarily always find as the chiropractor poking and prodding, but it's listening to that spirit. What does it have to tell me? How do I serve it this way so I can give it the greatest amount of benefit, and then it can take that adjustment and do what it needs to? Because chiropractors don't adjust anybody. Spirit does. That's the innate. I deliver the service. This system knows far better than me, is far better than you, and all of us combined in one room. It knows better than any human living educated mind. That's the spirit we have to work with. And that's where, if we got a little bit back, and I know, your dad and network and really getting into that consciousness of spirit and serving from those levels, it's endless. It's through the multiverse and, far beyond the consciousness of anything that we can even understand. And our little educated mind being able to explain it in small ways, really. So there's a lot of power in just those terms and words themselves. A single word's describing paragraphs of information, right?
Right. Well, that there's, I'm pretty sure it's in Stevenson's, and I'm going to paraphrase it. You may correct me, that there's a paragraph or a sentence that says, it's a brilliant statement that, no surgeon or even chiropractor knows where the vertebra is supposed to be. There's a phrase of that thing. And you've got to realize that, you said we don't adjust. We have the gift of providing a universal force, and we're hoping our educated mind is doing a great job of determining what universal force to put there with whatever education we've had, that this is the best universal force to apply for innate to assemble its own forces to up level that system, that nervous system, that being, and that's a pretty darn incredible gift of a life, to have the privilege to have that as your calling,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And honoring it as such,
Right. Right.
We use the term, I got this from Pasquale. He said, I'm not adjusting anybody. I serve them. I'm giving
Right.
them a service. So in innate, that's what we say. We're serving the people. I'm serving that vertebra. I'm serving that person. I'm delivering a service, and then the body knows what to do with it, right?
Yep.
And that's where we have to step back. And also, Sigafus used to talk about that all the time. He used to say, I move the bone, God does the healing. You deliver that,
Right.
and we back away. Now
Right.
it's an inside job.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I'm grateful you spend the time. If there's a last message on this before you share it mile high in person, what's your last thing you want to share to chiropractors and chiropractic students that are on this?
These things, green books, we've got to read them, not just, find a sentence and be happy with it and post it online, but understanding it and digesting that, having people around you to discuss it. We had our mentors early. You read a green book every day, and it could be one line or a few words. You don't have to read the whole thing. It's not a novel, but get it in us, understand it. BJ spent most of his writing about innate, separating ourselves from the educated and becoming more innate driven. That's what most of the books are about. He was trying to understand it himself.
Right.
So we were given that gift of that wisdom that he developed from D.D. Palmer. And I just want to touch on one more thing, if you don't mind, about Stevenson. We've done his book multiple times, and we've done usually the senior text of the 33 Principles. And one thing he said in there that literally saved my life in a way, because we want to keep it orderly. This is what it is, and that's it. That's logic. If and then. But what he said, really, that's early 1920s, right? Photographs were just brand new. He said, I want you to look at this like a child seeing a photograph for the first time, and then looking behind it to see where the rest of the people are. Mm-hmm. With that passion to the what do you call it? The drive to learn more and to understand something, but seeing it in the eyes of a child, because it's not done. It's still growing, and we're growing with it.
Right.
Okay. So this is it's such a blessing, and I got so much from Stevenson, of course, but one of those things is that curiosity. That's the word I was looking for before, is that curiosity and delving in deeper. So, keep digging deep. You don't have to be a philosopher, but be open to that insight.
Yeah, and I gotta say, bring your curiosity to higher ground. Okay, bring your curiosity to higher ground in August. And Mile High 14, you're going to just absolutely love the whole experience. You're going to love what Haig shares from the stage. But bring your curiosity when you attend chiropractic things every day. Bring your curiosity when you go into the adjuster room. Bring your curiosity as you're observing life, so that you can learn from the things that are being showed to you, so you can give more, serve more, and receive more. So thank you for taking the time today, and thank you for joining us. And so keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic.
Honored to be here.